The Chiefs are in the middle of a very strange offseason. Some parts of their offseason I absolutely love for them. Other parts make me feel sick to my stomach. And then there's also stuff that's disappointing and other stuff that just makes you a little bit concerned and other things that make me go, yeah, they're going back to the Super Bowl. So I wanted to make a video for you guys breaking down the Chiefs offseason so far. We'll get into all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, and the unknown. Before we get to the content, please be sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button to help the channel grow, and then make sure you turn on those notifications because you don't want to miss what I have in store for you later this month. So the Kansas City Chiefs are in the middle of a pretty impressive dynasty. They've been to 4 of the last 5 Super Bowls, winning 3 of them, twice against the 49ers. Thank you from every Seahawks fan. The Chiefs won the last 2 Super Bowls back-to-back and immediately made the declaration that they're going for the three-peat. Which, on one hand, sure, you could look at as arrogant, but let's be honest, if anyone in NFL history can do it, it's this team. I know the Patriots went to 3 in a row, but they lost the second one, so that took that away pretty quickly. I know that the Bills went to 4 in a row, but they didn't win any. I know that the Rams, Seahawks, and Chiefs each went to 2 in a row, but all lost the second one. Actually, all at the hands of Tom Brady, believe it or not. And it's not like it's crazy for the Chiefs to spend their offseason planning for a Super Bowl run. After all, that's what 31 other organizations do. Whether it's realistic or not, from the head coach level down, every coach's goal is to get to the Super Bowl. Maybe from the front office standpoint, they can look at things a little more realistically, but whether it's delusional or not, if you're Mike McDonald, if you're Sean McDermott, or if you're Brian Daboll, okay, maybe not that last one, everyone's expectation this time of year is they're going to reach the Super Bowl. The Chiefs' offseason began coming off of a second consecutive world championship. As I'm sure you recall, though, the Chiefs' offseason began in a really unfair way as their Super Bowl parade was ruined by a few morons with guns. According to an Associated Press report, there were 12 people brandishing firearms at the parade, 6 of whom wound up firing their guns. One woman, a mother of 2 children, died in that whole thing. And then 24 people were injured. Now, every time I mention this horrific event, I do want to shout out the people who bravely tackled one of the shooters to the ground and held them there until law enforcement could get there. You know, everyone, we all owe you a huge thank you. I could go on all day about how angry active shooter situations make me feel, as I'm sure they make you feel. At the end of the day, this is a football channel, so I really want to talk about football. I do have another video where we did talk about the Chiefs parade. We got into the whole thing, you know, so I don't really want to get into it again, but it is on the channel if you want it. It'll be in the related videos tab. The Chiefs front office offseason began with the massive extension they gave to Chris Jones. They extended Chris Jones for a 5-year, $158 million contract, $95 million guaranteed, pretty much guaranteeing that Chris Jones is going to be a Chief until at least the 2026 season. At that time, he'll be 32. After that, they could get out of the contract in theory. Look, I think this was a great signing for the Chiefs. Remember, the Chiefs arguably had the best defense in the league last year. They allowed the second fewest yards, and they allowed the second fewest points. At a minimum, you'd have to say they're a top 3 defense. And while the offense was mediocre all year, the Chiefs kind of played some old school football when you think about it. They had a good running game, ground and pound, defense wins championships type of mentality, and what do you know, they're hoisting the Lombardi again. Now this offseason, the Chiefs defense did have to trade L'Jarius Sneed and a 2024 7th round pick to the Titans for a 2025 3rd round pick and 2024 7th. So they swapped 7th and Sneed for a 3rd, basically. Just days after that trade, though, the Chiefs defense was a lot less of a priority after star wide receiver Rashee Rice was caught on video appearing to be street racing a friend of his in Texas. The alleged street race caused a 6-car pileup and multiple injuries, and as if that's not bad enough, then Rice leaves the scene of the accident without making sure anyone's okay, just selfishly gets out of there because it's all about him. Eventually, an arrest warrant was issued for Rice, who turned himself in with the help of his legal representative, Senator Royce West. According to Mike Florio, who did used to be an attorney for what it's worth, Rice could be facing anywhere from 3 to 20 years in prison. And I do think that entire situation played a huge part on the Kansas City Chiefs draft less than a month later. Because even if Rice isn't behind bars this year, because these legal things do take a long time, it's not clear if the NFL might suspend Rice for the year or not. Rice's trial is reportedly set for Monday, December 9th. The Chiefs actually play their Week 14 game on December 8th, so the night before. It's the Sunday night game in Kansas City. So I kind of expect at a minimum, Rice is going to miss that game. And then depending on how long the trial goes and how things play out, Rice might not be available for the rest of the season. So knowing that, I actually think the Chiefs did the right thing in the draft when they traded with the Buffalo Bills to go get Xavier Worthy. Look, I think that if Rashee Rice doesn't get into trouble, if he doesn't get involved in that street racing incident, I don't think the Chiefs spend that pick on a wide receiver. I think instead they would have tried to replace L'Jarius Sneed. They would have gone corner. They might have still traded up, but they would have gone corner. Instead, now they got to think, okay, we're probably going to lose our number one receiver, so we need someone for Mahomes to ball out to. Who's it going to be? So then you trade up to go get Xavier Worthy. Currently, the Chiefs now have 13 wide receivers on the roster. Obviously, that number is going to shrink way down by the end of preseason. But at present, their receiving room does look like it's an upgrade from last year. This offseason, they added Marquise Brown and Xavier Worthy, and they're going to be joining Rashee Rice, Justin Watson, and Kadarius Toney. And don't forget, they've also got Travis Kelce Swift to throw to. Considering the way that the Chiefs traded up to get a wide receiver, you would think that Rashee Rice would work hard to keep his nose clean, to really try to get this legal mess behind him and do his best to fight for his job in Kansas City. 8 days after the draft, Rashee Rice was involved in another controversy when allegedly he punched a photographer in the face in a nightclub. Once again, the police issued a warrant. Once again, Rice turned himself in. Now, it has been reported since then the photographer has dropped the charges. So I don't know what exactly to make of that. I don't know if that means that the photographer felt like, hey, maybe the story was over-exaggerated a little bit. I don't know if that means that Rashee Rice paid off the photographer. I don't know if maybe the punch was an accident or something and the photographer had like a crisis of conscience or something. Don't know. Couldn't tell you what happened there. You know, I spent 8 years in law enforcement. It's really hard to get convictions when the victim doesn't want to press charges. They want to take back their statement, any of those types of things. All of a sudden, you're not going to get the conviction. But another Rashee Rice bombshell dropped since then as well. Apparently, several NFL teams opted not to draft Rashee Rice in the 2023 draft because of an alleged incident that took place when Rice was in college. Allegedly, in college, Rice believed that SMU basketball player Kendrick Davis was either sleeping with or attempting to sleep with his girlfriend. The story goes that Rice, or someone with Rice, fired multiple bullets into Davis's empty car, seemingly to send a message. According to a Pro Football Talk article written once again by Mike Florio, multiple sources expressed a belief that every team in the NFL was aware of the incident before the draft. That's why, despite being a talented wide receiver with big potential, Rice wasn't taken until round 2 with the 55th overall pick by the Chiefs. And while that drama really belongs in the 2023 Chiefs offseason commentary, the fact of the matter is we didn't find out about it until just a few weeks ago. Way to go, NFL insiders. You missed another one. Then on May 11th, you may have heard about the Harrison Butker Benedictine College commencement speech, where Butker commented to the 2024 graduating class of a lot of comments about women and childbirth and marriage and religion and politics and his whole worldview. I mean, the speech was so bad that even the Christian conservative Benedictine College had to release a statement saying that they didn't agree with Butker's comments. Here's the highlights.
It is safe to say that over the past few years, I've gained quite the reputation for speaking my mind. I have no other choice but to embrace it and preach more hard truths about accepting your lane and staying in it. There's not enough time today for me to list all the stories of priests and bishops misleading their flocks. They too need to stay in their lane and lead. Being locked in with your vocation and staying in your lane is going to be the surest way for you to find true happiness and peace in this life. We must be intentional with our focus on our state in life and our own vocation. And for most of us, that's as married men and women. We cannot buy into the lie that the things we experienced during COVID were appropriate. For the ladies present today, congratulations on an amazing accomplishment. I think it is you, the women, who have had the most diabolical lies told to you. How many of you are sitting here now, about to cross this stage, and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career? Some of you may go on to lead successful careers in the world, but I would venture to guess that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. There is nothing good about playing God with having children, whether that be your ideal number or the perfect time to conceive. No matter how you spin it, there is nothing natural about Catholic birth control. As men, we set the tone of the culture, and when that is absent, disorder, dysfunction, and chaos set in.
First of all, I like that he kind of starts with like, well, I've been known for speaking my mind. Dude, you're the kicker. You're barely known at all. Like, NFL fans know who you are, of course. Football fans know who you are, sure. If you're friends with an NBA fan, they're hardcore into NBA, and they're very casual about watching football, prior to this speech, they probably didn't know who Harrison Butker was. They couldn't tell you what team he played for. People who follow my channel probably knew who Harrison Butker was, because you're probably not following a channel called Mike Adams Football unless you know a little bit about football. But everyday people have no idea who Harrison Butker is. They all know who Patrick Mahomes is, though. You know, they know who Tom Brady is. They might know who Antonio Brown is. Probably know who Marshawn Lynch is. They have no idea who the kickers are. Please. And then Butker kept preaching for people to stay in their lane.
Accepting your lane and staying in it. Stay in their lane, staying in your lane.
Which I found kind of funny, because I was like, you're a kicker speaking to graduates of a college you didn't go to, giving opinions about a gender you're not a part of, political opinions despite not being a politician, thoughts on priests and bishops despite not being a priest or a bishop. None of that is in your lane, Harrison. Hell, Rashee Rice does a better job of staying in his lane on a Texas interstate. And as you can imagine, Butker's comments weren't received very well. I mean, even his teammates had to put some distance between his comments and their own feelings.
I know Harrison. I've known him for 7 years. I judge him by the character that he shows every single day, and that's a good person. There's certain things that he said that I don't necessarily agree with, but I understand the person that he is.
I can't say I agree with the majority of it or just about any of it.
And I did read some stuff where some people felt like Mahomes and Kelsey should have been more vocally opposed to the comments. I mean, I don't know. Look, Kelsey said, I don't agree with pretty much anything he said. So I don't know how more opposed you can be than saying I don't agree with anything he said. Look, at the end of the day, when things like this happen, it's really important to remember, we all kind of want everybody to be outraged and angered and whatever, and we expect them to do things. Patrick Mahomes didn't say those things. Travis Kelce didn't say those things. Andy Reid didn't say those things. The Chiefs organization didn't say those things. Harrison Butker said those things. So whether you agree with him or not, whether you think he deserves praise or he deserves blame, those things all belong with Harrison Butker. They don't belong with anyone else. So, kind of give the other guys a break. Remember, they got to share a locker room with the guy for 20 plus weeks out of the year. They kind of need to be on a good page with the guy. They need to have a good relationship with him. So you can't expect them to show up to the podium and say, F this guy. He's the worst human being ever. I hate him now. Like it's just not a reasonable expectation. And then, as if this offseason hasn't been bizarro enough for the Chiefs, on Thursday, defensive end BJ Thompson went into cardiac arrest during a special teams meeting. Thompson was transported to the hospital. Reports quickly came in that Thompson was actually doing better. He was alert and he was talking with doctors. And then actually just this morning, he was released. A very bizarre offseason for the Chiefs. But even with all of that chaos, it's still the best operation in football. I mean, even with the Rashee Rice situation, even if he goes to jail and never plays another down of football again, if the Chiefs could go back in time to before the 2023 NFL draft, they still draft him. He was their leading receiver in a year that they went on a Super Bowl run. You don't change a damn thing of what you did last year. You still draft him and got to pay him on a rookie deal for 1 year, and then he's off your books now if he goes to jail and all of that? Okay, too easy. Yeah, you make that deal. And even if your kicker says the most offensive things on the planet, he's still the best or second best kicker in the league. I think I would take Justin Tucker. Everyone else is about a mile away. And of course, when it comes to Chiefs, at the end of the day, you know what I'm about to say, don't you? As long as you have Patrick Mahomes, you'll always be in that conversation. You'll always be in the Super Bowl conversation. The Chiefs are one of those teams where I look at their schedule this year and trying to predict it is goofy because the Chiefs can beat every single team on their schedule. There's only 3 teams in the league. I was thinking about this. There's only 3 teams in the league that I feel like they have the ability to beat every single team on their schedule over the last few years. Over the last 3 years, the 49ers have had the potential to beat everyone on their schedule, and they've pretty much done it. The Bills have had the potential to beat pretty much everyone on their schedule. And the Chiefs have had the potential to beat pretty much everyone on their schedule. Those 3 teams, you can make an argument that sure, the Bengals and the Ravens, they're one of those consistently good teams over the last few years. But solidly over the last 3, Bills, 49ers, and Chiefs are the teams that you go, yeah, you could go 17-0. Do I think that's likely? Of course not. But for 29 teams in the NFL, I'd say that 17-0 is like a 0.0001%. For the 49ers and Bills, I'd say it's closer to 1%. For the Chiefs, let's go 1.3%. But talking about the Chiefs, look, I assume they'll lose to either the Ravens or the Bengals in the first 2 weeks, one of those 2 teams. Maybe they lose to the 49ers in week 7. Maybe they lose to the Bills in week 11. Or maybe they beat all of those teams and then they lose to, like the Broncos or the Chargers or somebody. Whatever it is, if I was a betting man and I had to place a bet on who I think is going to win the Super Bowl this year, I'm going with the Chiefs. There's a reason that DraftKings has them as the odds-on favorite right now. But let me know what you think in the comment section below, especially if you're a Chiefs fan. I really want to hear what you think about the Rice controversy, how you feel about the draft, how you feel about Harrison Butker's comments. Is there anything you think I missed on my Chiefs coverage? Was there something big that happened this offseason? I mean, there were so many things with the Chiefs. It would be easy for me to forget something. I'll reply to as many comments as I can because I love talking football with you guys. I'll catch you guys next time. Later.